Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 7th of February 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the FTSE MIB. Now looking at this index, it's slightly looking technically more interesting, if I can put it this way grammatically. Basically what's interesting here is the fact that looking at this daily chart, you can see that the index continues to trade above this downside resistance line, this medium-term downside resistance line taken from the highs of the 7th of May, and also after a bit of sideways activity here for the past 2 weeks, basically now the index is kind of pushing higher, breaking its one of its key resistance areas here, which was taken from the highs here of the 17th of October, and that was around the 19,930 level. So in a way, looking at this, like I said, the daily chart, of course initially yesterday it closed, the index managed to reach the psychological 20,000 barrier, but still closed below it. Nevertheless, I mean, we still have some possibility for this index to continue traveling further, given the fact that we do have a very nice, good, strong potential area of resistance here near the 20,250 level, approximately there, but just slightly above that, a few points above that, we do have the 200 EMA, which also could be seen as that area where the index could test. So for now guys, long story short, in a way we're going to continue monitoring this 19,930 level. If the index continues to trade further up here, certainly that's great, because like I said, we could be targeting this 20,250 level initially, but if this suddenly, let's say, reverses back down here, back below the 19,930 level, certainly this is where you should kind of become a bit more cautious, because we do have this area right here, and don't get me wrong, I do understand it was violated a few times here, so this is just going to be an area, a level for you to kind of approximately so that you could monitor it, because a drop below the 19,630 level, approximately there, could potentially lead the index further down here. Even we could then target the 19,220 zone, or even actually this downside resistance line, which could get tested from above. And of course, from the as long as it kind of continues to trade above this downside resistance line, certainly we will continue aiming higher. But if this suddenly gets broken and we see the index dropping below this downside resistance line, now this is where probably more bears could start joining in and potentially driving this index much lower. But for now guys, long story short, we are still targeting higher levels, the 20,250 level. That's the next one on our target here. But then again, like I said, we need to see a nice, good kind of push away from this 19,930 level that got broken yesterday. Jumping into one commodity, and gold. Basically, I was covering this one and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on the 1308 level. So you can see that gold managed to break that lower yesterday. It broke it to the downside, closed below that level, and in a way today we're seeing further declines here. So of course, for now, judging by the picture that we're seeing here on the daily chart, we can see that the gold continues to trade above this very short-term steeper upside support line taken from the lows of the November 14th, and we could see this one traveling further down here, of course, aiming initially towards the psychological 1300 level, which is just about 4 points away, $4 away, but slightly below that we do have the 1297 zone approximately there, marked by the lows of the 28th of January, and also we do have this upside support line, which could in a way provide some support. So yep, guys, for now, keep your eyes on that one. We could see maybe something like this developing here, but if this upside support line gets broken, now certainly this will raise questions about the kind of short-term potential of this one to travel higher. So in a way we could then target slightly lower levels, and in a way actually if we do get a break here below this upside support line, then, well, I mean, what we're going to target is the 1276 level approximately there. You can see that how well it played here as a nice area of support. So back on the 24th of January and also on the 4th of January. So in a way, keep your eyes on that one. But like I said, for now, as long as we continue to trade above this upside support line, we will continue aiming higher. But again, like I said, anything can happen. We could see a break below this, and this is where you could then potentially target the 1276 zone. Jumping into another index here, the DXY, and I was covering this one for a few. Well, I've covered this one in one of my a few of my previous videos this week. So basically, yesterday we managed to break the downside resistance line, and now I can see that the index is trading higher. And looking at the 4-hour chart, and let me just quickly jump into that one. You can see that it continues to push higher, breaking this downside resistance line, continues to trade above this, in a way, tentative short-term upside support line taken from the lows of the 31st of January. And of course, for now, we're just going to continue targeting higher levels like the 96.70 area approximately there, marked near the highs of the 24th of January. Certainly don't forget that we might see maybe a bit of a correction here back down, but as long as this upside support line remains intact, we will continue aiming higher. So for now, guys, initially, of course, looking at today, yes, today it's already kind of trading well above the pivot. We are looking at the R1 here, which is around the 96.53 area approximately there. It's not far from where I should say the index is not far from that area. We could, like I said, reach this 96.53. But if this just kind of will be seen as a little pit stop for the bulls, this could continue traveling further up here, and like I said, the 96.70 level is the one that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. So for now, guys, if this suddenly decides to drop below the pivot and drops below this upside support line, then yep, we will target lower levels. But for now, it seems that the index wants to continue pushing further up. But again, be very cautious near the R1. Jumping into a few pairs now. NZDUSD now continues to get beaten here, and if we look at the daily chart, actually, you can see this strong selling, this strong candle here of yesterday's candle, and how severe the selling was here, and basically managed to break this short-term upside support line taken from the lows of the 3rd of January. So now it's kind of trading aiming lower. It's it already tested the area near the 0.6740, 44, 45, something like that here, so from which it's trying to now rebound back up. Certainly it still has some room here on the downside, because we also have the lower bound of the Bollinger Band here, which could get tested, or even actually better, the upside support line, this upside support line taken from the lows of the 8th of October, and we could see maybe a test of that. But then again, in order to kind of consider a further decline here, we need to see a drop below the 0.6745 level first, and then we will aim for levels like the 0.6705, or even, like I said, this upside support line. So for now, keep your eyes on this one, be very cautious, be very careful. And if we quickly have a look at the 4-hour chart, you can see that we're way below today's pivot here. So in a way, if we could see maybe a correction back up here, and maybe a move towards the 0.6775 area could be possible, but if it kind of struggles to overcome that, we could see, like I said, another leg of selling, which could lead towards the S1, which is around the 0.6725. But of course, before that, let's not forget the 0.6745 level, which we need to see a break off in order to kind of consider this S1, or even actually going towards the S2, which is around the 0.6675 area, approximately there. So for now, guys, long story short, in a way, if you want to play it safe, keep an eye on 0.6745. If we do get a break below that, that's great. It could be opening the path towards lower levels. For us, let's say, to get comfortable with the upside again, well, we would need to see a nice good push back above this short-term upside support line here, and then we will target much higher levels. But for now, it seems that this could not be the case for the time being. So guys, be very careful with this pair. It does look interesting, especially looking at the daily chart with this potential to the downside still. But again, we need some confirmation breaks before, because it has already kind of sold off quite severely. So in a way, we could see maybe a small correction back up, and then another push lower. So be very careful with that. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's euro dollar. Now, before we look at the 4-hour chart here, we can see that what's happening here, basically I was talking about this upside support line, guys, and this is where it's going to be very interesting to see what exactly it wants to do with it, because does it want to break it further down here and continue pushing lower towards the lower bound of the Bollinger Band here, around the 113.15 area, something like that. But don't forget that we do have some good potential areas of support here around just slightly lower, the 113.10 marked by the lows of the 3rd of January, or actually we could see maybe a rebound here. So in a way, it is a bit difficult to interpret this right now, because we need a clear move here. At the moment, yes, yesterday's daily candle closed just bang on this upside support line, but today we're still kind of bouncing around here. So in a way, we're gonna wait for some sort of news today or tomorrow, and see what it wants to do with it, because to be honest, it might just continue trading like this for the whole day around this upside support line, and then maybe do something tomorrow, and we could potentially maybe see a further decline here towards the 113 area, or actually maybe we could see a reversal. Now, in terms of the upside here, for us to get slightly more comfortable with the upside, we would need to see a nice good pop above the 113.95 level, or in a way you could round it up towards the 114 level. So a nice good push above the 114 zone could potentially open the path back up here towards these higher levels. But on the downside, if this continues to drop further down here, moves away from this upside support line to the downside here, then yep, brace yourselves. We could see maybe a retest of the 113 level, or even actually if it starts breaking the 113 level, well, we could then aim for the lows that we saw here back on the 24th of January, and that was approximately around the 112.90, and then maybe lower actually. So for now, it's, like I said, continue monitoring this upside support line, see what he wants to do here. So in a way, what you could how you could position yourselves, let's say for today even. So in a way, if we see a nice good push back above the pivot here, because it's already trading below it, this is where you could start considering the a move back above the back towards to 113.95, and if we see a strong push higher here, then yep, we could see further acceleration to the upside. But if this decides to continue dropping and drops below the S1, which is around the 113.43 approximately there, you could keep an eye on the 113.35 and then lower, guys. So for now, guys, be very careful. You can see that how it's kind of hugging this this upside support line in a way. Even though we did have that break here back in the end of January, still you can see that this line here kind of acts as a very important line, and a lot of developments happening around this line. So let's see what the euro has in place for us today. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you found it useful, please join me in my traders tea time. That's 14:15 GMT time, but for now I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much, and bye bye.